Hi friends, welcome to Reading Comprehension. Today we get to learn all about early governments. But before we start reading our text, I'd like to go back and review the Edpuzzle video that you watched yesterday. In that video, you learned why governments are needed in the first place. You learned that we need them to keep people safe and to help people work together. You also saw that governments provide services to help keep people safe. They provide police officers, firefighters, and military servicemen and women, all to keep us safe. You saw that governments provide libraries where people can check out books to learn more about how to work together and stay safe. And you saw that governments provide roads, transportation, and bridges so that people can drive to their jobs and work together. All right, friends, before we hop into our lesson for today and start our reading, I'd like you to activate your imagination. A lot of times when we activate our imagination, it helps us to better understand what it is that we're reading. So today, your job is to imagine that you're living thousands of years ago somewhere on a piece of land. It would be you, your family, and maybe a few animals. Because it's thousands of years ago, you have no electricity, no cars, no computers or trains or machines, and no video games. Remember, this is just your family, your land, and you. And that if you want or need something, you're going to have to make it or build it yourself. So we're going to think today as we read about living thousands of years ago in a small group. Let's go ahead and hop into the story. Early governments. Governments developed in different places at different times. Just as people have different histories, cultures, and expectations, so do their governments. From the earliest times, people have created governments to meet their needs and to look after themselves, their families, and their communities. The first governments. For thousands of years, people didn't need governments. Humans lived in small groups, usually made up of families or relatives. Everyone shared the work, and everyone talked together to solve problems. These groups might have had a leader who took control in times of danger, but most decisions would have been made by the whole group. As time went by, people started to grow more food. Because of the development of permanent agriculture, people settled near their fields. Slowly, these settlements grew into larger communities. Friends, I'm going to go ahead and read the captions near these artifacts on the side of the page. Prehistoric cave painting in Zimbabwe. So we can see here that somebody painted on the side of a cave. They probably gathered together minerals, or crushed rock and berries to give the paint some color, and then drew a picture or painted the picture on the side of a cave. Here we see a piece of clay where likely somebody took a stick or a carving tool and then they carved or etched into this clay a picture. Let's find out what that picture is. This 3,300-year-old clay map of an ancient Mesopotamian city in present-day Iraq shows irrigation systems, roads, and public buildings. That's important. I'm going to read that again. It shows irrigation systems, roads, and public buildings. This city must have had a government to organize these works. So what they're saying is that in order for this civilization to have built irrigation systems, roads, and buildings thousands of years ago, it would have taken a lot of people that had to work together to do those things. So they probably needed a government to organize that. Okay, we're done with the reading, but I want to do one more thing. I want to go back to your imagination. Remember I said it's just you, your family, and you're living somewhere on a piece of land. You're in a small group. It might even be your cousins and your grandparents that live next to you or around you, but it's still a very small group. And with a small group, you don't really need a government to help you solve your problems, to live together or work together. And you don't really need your government to protect you. You can pretty much do that for yourself. But if you have a great piece of land and people see that you have lots of food and maybe good water to drink and also water your crops with, then suddenly people think, gosh, I like where they're living. I'm going to move there too. And when that happens, when people start to move very close to one another and more people start to build houses on that land, then you get a small community or a larger group. And that group can grow larger and larger and larger, just like living in Puyallup or Tacoma. When that happens, friends, those are the times when we need a good government to do what? To help us stay safe and learn how to work together. Okay, friends, your next task is to answer the quiz questions for page 10 of this section.